everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It's raining quite a lot in Nairobi, so we hope wherever you are, it's a lot calmer than it is here in Nairobi today. We're hoping you're having a good day so far. Today we are joined by myself, Sylvia, and Mr. Peter Elolu. So Sylvia and I will be your panelists this evening, together with Patricia, I believe, who is going to join us in a few minutes. And thank you so much for joining us in our third webinar of this of the CTT program. And I will introduce our panelist of today, Mr. Peter Elolu, who is a cybersecurity engineer with over 6 years in the cybersecurity field with a background in telecommunication engineering. He's a certified professional penetration tester who has a vast experience in the financial sector and currently supervises security operations in Postbank Uganda Limited. He's also a contributor to the various cybersecurity communities that run programs like Capture the Flag in Kenya, and he has worked in several support roles over the years in roles that deal with incident response, analysis of malware, reverse engineering across major organizations in Uganda. So thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for joining us this evening, and I will give it up to you to begin your presentation. Just a few housekeeping rules. If you have any questions pertaining to either week 3 content or whatever we're going to learn in this session, please make sure to add them to the Q&A section. Some of these questions might end up as part of our Q&A section in the webinar, while some of it, Sylvia and I and the rest of the panelists will try as much as possible to answer them directly to you. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like. If you have any questions about the course, about the content itself from week 3, about what Mr. Peter is going to share, please feel free to put it in the chat. Mr. Peter?
Thank you, Malusi. I think I would say it's evening in Uganda, so whatever time zones you're on, it's a pleasure to have you all here. I'm glad to be your panelist today, and definitely, as so many things have been said about me, the first thing is I'm happy and humbled to have this opportunity to share with you my expertise around this field, and I hope that this presentation will be quite informative to you and that you may pick something from it. So I'm here basically to share with you majorly around the topic around defending against cyber threats from a point of a user, someone who interacts with the internet every day. And definitely I want to share my experience to break down how best you can protect yourself on the internet. Over the course of the weeks, I have been informed that you have been able to learn about the different dangers, how you can be exposed, and definitely this webinar is to help you understand how best you can protect yourself when you're interacting with the internet. So who am I? I'm Peter. As a lot has been said about me, I could just summarize myself as a researcher, an uncle and a friend, and definitely happy to be here. So when we highlight about the importance of cybersecurity, we need to understand its contribution and importance in our current ecosystem, in our lives, in our different operations, in what we do, in what we engage in, and how we definitely handle ourselves when we're doing most of our day-to-day operations. We've found that there's been a growth in so much at the level of digitization across the world that we find that we are moving all the way from we're moving to cashless transactions. We're having our different identities being used for different operations, and definitely this opens us to a new challenge. And in our case, we're looking at it from a cybersecurity point, where we're looking at the dangers that come with the digitization that has happened over the years. So cybersecurity is something that you would look at as something that you would want to have in your day-to-day operations, so that you're able to at least pick out and avoid being a victim of maybe say a fraudulent activity or identity theft or some form of digital issue that could arise from the breaches that happen against our different identities. So when we come to understand the challenges that normally come with cybersecurity, we find that so many times in our day-to-day operations, we hear stories, we read newspapers, we interact with our fellow staff, fellow teachers, and someone is telling you, for example, we've had this person I'm getting a call from a scammer. Someone is telling me that they are maybe a telecommunication company, and I have won money. And so when you hear such things, you come back to a point of there are some people who have been so gullible that when targeted, for example, by the different scammers, we find that they are taken advantage of because of their personalities, I would say. You find that someone who is naturally a nice person, and because, for example, they've received a phone call that is having some form of urgency, and maybe they are relating to someone that they know is in trouble, and the person on the other side of the line is saying, for example, this person A, who is a person that you know, is in danger, and he has asked that maybe you transact and send money to this number. We've had such scenarios. They seem like quite basic scenarios, but you find that over the years, scammers or the attackers in these questions have taken advantage and perfected their craft over the years, and they have been able to, of course, understand the weaknesses in the human element, and definitely been able to take advantage of these loopholes. So this training definitely is to help guide and also teach you on the basics, basically what you look at, like some form of cyber hygiene around yourself, and also the people that you support, the people that you train, in this case the students, and also maybe the people at home. So when we look at, for example, the threats that we face, we look at, for example, hacking, which is probably digital intrusion, as we would look at it, where we would have phishing. That's where we have targeted email attacks, basically, that definitely have a hook to them, whereby there is some unknown or some extra element that is tagged behind that fish to entice you to either provide a password to a specific fraudulent link, or in this case, something to collect some sensitive information from you so that it can be used further. Malware basically would look at it as malicious software, and this can be definitely installed on your computers at home, or even at work, or even on your phones, and it can be used to definitely spy on you or collect sensitive information from you. So why do we really consider this cybersecurity at a very crucial point? Because we have seen that there has been an increase in financial loss in most of the organizations. There has been a surge in financial loss in regards to cyber threats. We have had individuals losing their identity, whereby, for example, someone is definitely being you'll notice that someone is transacting on behalf of someone, and basically impersonating them and taking advantage of maybe like a problem or a loophole or lack of cybersecurity awareness by most of the people. Most of the targeted people are normally people who are quite old and definitely have not had training around these things. So one of the key elements when we are looking at cybersecurity defense from an individual point of view and what we expose to the internet is basically what we understand as passwords. From the time you get into your office, from the time you are engaging, maybe logging onto a phone, or for example, withdrawing money at an M-Pesa place, or you may be having like an American Express card and you may be swiping. There are different sensitive elements in all characters, or in this form, what we look at as passwords that definitely you should only know as an individual. Things that you need are very sensitive, that when shared, they definitely they contribute to a weaker security model around implementations of most of these solutions. For example, when someone creates a solution and they say that you need a password to log into this platform, if no one knows my password, how would they log into that platform? They would not be able to access it unless they have my password. Going back to the idea around how attackers collect this different sensitive information, we look at, for example, phishing, as we had highlighted. And if someone is able to definitely collect this information, then they are going to be able to impersonate and go away with whatever they are trying to achieve. So why do we need to understand the importance of passwords? Passwords basically give us a digital protections against our digital IDs, and definitely why it's important that we should be able to protect them. There are different characteristics around how we implement passwords, and what we need to remember is that a strong password is definitely something that is difficult for an attacker to guess. And once you have a strong password, it gives you it gives you an advantage whereby your password is not guessable, and it would make it very costly for the attacker to try and access your password. So what are the tips around password management? You definitely need to, when you're setting up a password, you should not set up a password with, let me say, your cat's name and maybe your date of birth. That would be something that would be very easy for someone to pick up. That would be something that someone could literally profile you over a period of time and be able to guess. And definitely, you should consider using what we call password managers. So password managers, basically, there are so many different types of open source password managers, as we shall see. We have, for example, KeePass, we have Padlock, Passbolt, and also Bitwarden. These normally are basically like sandboxes or containers in this case. Something that when you say, for example, I have so much information that I need protected and vaulted that I only need to access it in a sensitive manner, all you need to do is just lock your passwords into that password manager, and then you just have one master password to guide you to be able to extract the other difficult passwords that you have. That would at least be one of the ways that you could use to protect your passwords. Then we can go ahead and look at what kind of exposure do we have. For example, we have computers in our schools, we have our phones, and you often hear someone saying, for example, back then when I used to be a young man, my mom would definitely be in a position whereby she would tell me that, well, I have clicked on this link and there are multiple pop-ups on the screen, and definitely it's just basically adware. This is basically malware that is basically built to just push so many different advertisements of different products. It could be illicit material and all the kinds, and definitely renders the computer unusable. So what happens basically over time, you find that the reasons why some of these softwares are able to run on your machines is because, for example, you do not have an antivirus running, so your protection is not up to date. Then you probably have outdated software. With software, what happens is that the reasons why there is continuous development with software is not only are the developers looking at giving you better functionality for your solutions, they're also looking at ensuring that if there are any form of bugs or vulnerabilities in the older versions of this software, they are fixing them. So if you're running outdated software within your machine or your computer or your phone, you're definitely putting yourself at risk, because you find that, for example, if there is a specific malware that is built to take advantage of a specific vulnerable software, then this is basically what the attackers are going to take advantage of. So when we come to what we look at as backups, once in a while, we find that, for example, you have your computer, it falls in water, or for example, in this case, you click on a link and ransomware basically just encrypts your hard disk and you're unable to access your files. The reasons why we recommend having backups is basically so that in case of scenarios where you lose your data, at least you have some ability to recover your information and not just lose it completely. Because the attacker in this case will look at taking advantage of you from a point of, if someone can install or run ransomware on your machine and you don't have access to your backups, that means they can go ahead and demand ransom, definitely putting you at a position where it may be very tricky, where you literally have to pay in order to try and get your files back. And in most scenarios, you actually do not get the key to be able to decrypt these files. So when we're looking at secure online communication, basically we're looking at how do you handle your communication channels? What steps are you taking to ensure that you are positioned in a place whereby you have control of what is going on, what you're supplying to the internet? So we normally recommend, if you do not understand something, please do not click it. If you do not expect something, please do not open it. That is basically to give you the idea of, you should not be clicking on any link that you just find on the internet. Once in a while, during like festive seasons, and during campaigns, during promotions, we find that in WhatsApp groups, we definitely notice that there can be so many free links, ideally links carrying free products. For example, share this with 10 people and you spin the wheel, and after maybe like 10 spins, you win like an iPhone 15. So we get to find ourselves in scenarios where whenever you find there's something that is free, you need to know that there has to be a product, and in this case, you may be the product. So sharing these links is basically a way of encouraging people to spread this malware. And definitely what happens with attackers is they ensure that they target a huge number, and they just expect to have 1 or 2 or probably several hundred people click on the link for them to be able to achieve a specific objective. So you should avoid clicking on what you do not know. And then also you should ensure that when you're sending, for example, your emails, they are secure. Avoid using email providers that are basically not known, that for security you cannot guarantee at this point, because they probably lack some form of email filtering around spam, and these definitely could also be an exposure to the individuals that are looking at that are accessing these links or these emails in this case. So it's also highly recommended that, for example, there is something that we call two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is basically where you're looking at, you have to validate that it is you who is trying to access a specific system or whatever you're trying to access. In this case, two-factor basically adds an extra layer of protection and gives beyond reasonable doubt that the person who is actually trying to access a specific service is that person. Normally, how do we define two-factor? Two-factor is where we look at, if I have, for example, I'm trying to access a website, or let me say Facebook, I'm trying to access Facebook and I have my password. Having my password does not guarantee that I will be able to log onto Facebook unless I can share the one-time PIN that has been sent to my SMS, to my mobile, in this case through SMS, that I can be able to type in that OTP and I can be able to access. Typing in the OTP in this case would be my two-factor, or in this case there are some applications, for example Google Authenticator, and also some other companies that have gone ahead to actually create solutions around this to actually support while providing multi-factor authentication. So for our devices, in this case, what we carry, in this case, computers, smartphones, how do we secure them? Definitely, we want to prevent exposure in terms of sensitive data leakage or unauthorized access. In this case, someone accessing your computer, or in this case your computer or your laptop, in this case, or your phone. So what normally do we do? Whenever you get into an office, there's so many things that can happen. You often find that people can be working so hard and they forget to actually understand their surroundings. Someone can be looking over your shoulder. Someone can be just right behind you, looking at what is he typing, what does he have on his screen, and basically this comes back to look at the scenario of how do you carry yourself and the sensitive information that basically helps you access these devices. No, you should not be writing down passwords on papers and tagging them on your PC for you to say that I do not want to forget this password. That is a very poor practice and can be something that the attacker can use to actually compromise the integrity of your system by actually being able to access them. So there are different protection mechanisms that we can use. When you look at, for example, things like device encryption, we have different technologies. In this case, for example, BitLocker, that is enabled by Microsoft, that definitely helps you encrypt your hard disk. Why do we do this? In this case, for looking at workstations. This is basically to help users that in a scenario where, for example, your computer is stolen, this computer is definitely protected in a way that if someone tries to access your information, they cannot be able to read the disk. Then we also look at using, for example, biometrics and or pins. Biometrics basically where we're using fingerprints and maybe like, for example, if you have advanced mobile phones or computers, you could also use your face. And these unique features basically can be a form of authentication to also these devices. Then again, we can go ahead and also ensure that we update our devices and also have anti-malware programs running around them. So when we are, of course, considering from whatever areas or continents we come in, we need to understand, of course, the laws around data protection within our different origins, because we find that data, how we handle data, of course, there are laws that basically guide us. And for example, we have the General Data Protection Regulation law, basically, that supports majorly around EU countries and basically guides around how data should be protection and data is protected and how it can be used by the different third parties or individuals that use them. So we also have the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. This one basically is a US thing, and it guides basically how they protect our children from the kind of content that they interact with on the internet. So basically, compliance with this ensures that even you as a teacher, when, for example, you're collecting information from your students, for example, you have created a small Google Sheet and you're trying to get information from your students, you should be able to understand how you're going to handle this information. Some information is sensitive and should be treated in a sensitive manner. So here we come to understand, maybe we're going to look at a small demo to help us understand and answer these few questions. So I would ask a question across. Have you ever been a victim of a data breach? Do you use one password for multiple accounts? For example, in this case, you have Gmail, Yahoo, your mobile phone, your iOS in this case, or Android, and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all the rest of it. But do you just run one password across them? How many passwords as an individual can you remember if you're to cram multiple passwords? And then how would you keep your password safe? So oftentimes we find ourselves in a position where we are asking, how would you protect yourself, for example, when you're online? So you notice that there are there are multiple websites that when you try to access them and you want to, for example, test a service, they will request you for an email. They'll ask, can you provide us with your email and a password so that you can be able to access this service. Sometimes you do not actually need to provide this with your email, because you do not actually need to give them your email. And their websites, basically, for example, what we look at is a website called TempMail. So TempMail is basically a temporary mail that allows you to have a temporary email that you can use in a short period of time and be able to, for example, sign up for a specific service without giving out your information. So, for example, if you want to access a specific solution or anything, you can easily just pick up this, copy this, and then you have an inbox here that is ready to receive, for example, an activation link. Let me say, what service can we try? And let's just look for a random service on the internet. So, for example, you say you want to sign up. You maybe have a specific, maybe sign up. There's a specific website that you're trying to access and you want to sign up and you want to log in and maybe understand. You could just register, and of course, depending on the integrity and how the website is, some websites do not accept TempMail emails, but we can try and go ahead and test user, and maybe a random password, and say maybe I'm not a robot, and register. You'll find that in this case, we have been able to definitely, we have signed up, and if there is any form of activation link that is required or shared in this case, it will come definitely here, and you can see that, for example, you have signed up, and with this, you have not provided your information to that website, because so many websites do a lot of data collection and use it for sale. So just using TempMail, we have been able to sign up to signup.com, and we're actually now logged in and can access as this user. So that will be one of the ways you go around ensuring that you're browsing safely through the internet. Then we asked another question of, are you a victim of a data breach? So when we consider, for example, we want to find out how we are doing on the internet in terms of our safety. There are websites like haveibeenpwned.com. All you have to do is just go to Google and search for have I been pwned, and you have, for example, here in this case, have I been pwned. Pwned is basically a literal meaning of owned, like ownership, and in this case, if someone owns your email address, they have basically pwned you. So what happens here is, we found that pwned.com basically has data from over 768 websites, and it has over 13 billion compromised accounts. And we find that this is basically a database where, in case there has been a data breach, we find that your emails are definitely get hits here, and you can know that if you find your email here, that definitely requires that you may need to change your passwords across multiple accounts where you think you have been using the same password. For example, let's run a test. Let's run a test on one of my dummy emails. So when I ran a test across this, I found that, I am safe. I am definitely living the dream because I have not been compromised. So if I'm to say, for example, let me test another email of mine because I quite have a number. It's like, oh no, my data has appeared in one of the data breaches. So basically, my email was found in one of the databases of data that was compromised some time back, and I have to definitely understand that. Okay, what are the next steps? They will definitely tell you protect yourself using one password and save So you definitely do password generation, enable two-factor, and then also maybe if you're someone who is interested in getting notifications, you can actually subscribe that in case, for example, there is a breach against this specific email, I'm able to get alerts around this specific email. So definitely this gives us a build of, now you're able to understand, for example, when your email or specific account has been compromised. Of course, for example, if we are to say, for example, let's test and see whether our dummy email has been compromised. Of course, it's definitely going to be good news, because this is just something that is auto-generate, disposable, and quick use, just in case in scenarios where you need to have a quick email to use. So that will be a strong point for you to do, to understand, in case you're looking at being able to have your password, have your account secured. Then when we go ahead and now, for example, start thinking that, okay, we talked about password management. So how do we keep our passwords safe? So if you went to Google and you said, I'm looking for a password manager, there are several different types of password managers. In this case, we have Google Password Manager, different types. We can also go ahead and just say open source, just to ensure that we're giving us a different understanding of most of the tools that can be available. So there's, for example, Passbook, there is KeePass, there is Bitwarden, and so other different types of open source password managers that are there. So basically, what do password managers do? Password managers give you that extra shield and definitely allow you to be able to ensure that you do not need to cram like 10 different passwords, but you just have to have one master password to help you access the specific password manager. So for example, I could choose and for example and say KeePass, and KeePass definitely has multiple versions. I could of course just look at the latest in this case, and then I go ahead and, for example, download it. So once I get this download, in this case, I get this redirection, and I'm definitely going to be using KeePass to do a small demo. So KeePass is basically a password manager we have been able to install. We've been able to download our KeePass, and of course we run the installer and we have it here. So once we run the installer and we open up KeePass the first time, it's definitely going to ask us, for example, can we create a master password? So when it's asking for a master password, basically what it's asking is, can we set up a strong password that is going to allow us access this vault, or in this case, this password manager, every time we actually want to access it. So you find that the beauty with some of these password managers is that they also come with plugins to the browser, so that they directly save your passwords into the password manager and also retrieve them for you when you're using that specific browser. So in this case, let us set up a dummy password manager in this case for us. My password is quite weak. I think I need to choose something strong. So I was using a weak password and I wanted to see how it would react. So I have definitely set up my password, my master password. I can see the quality, estimated quality. It's going towards green, so it's strong. So I can press OK. So I can set up this database. I can just say not pwned, in this case, not owned, as my database name. And then I go ahead and it will, of course, ask you to print out an emergency so that you can fill out, but you can skip. So what happens here is, you start, of course, getting you have your username and your passwords that are saved for a specific URL. In this case we have dummy URL. So as you basically browse through, or for example, let's say you wanted to add something, a password, you can add an entry. You can set whatever basic URL in this case, or entry you're trying to access. In this case, let me say test. Then you can probably put your username, the password that you're trying to set up in this case, and then the URL you're trying to access. For example, it could be our sign up. It could be our sign up. Could be our sign up in this case, and then maybe you can just say test dummy credits, and then you can put an expiration date for this access. So you can just go ahead and copy. So you find that you have your username, your password is masked in this case, and for a specific URL, and all you have to do is just come when you want to copy the password. You copy it. In this case, since it's open, this has been copied to my clipboard, and then I can just go ahead and paste it in whatever website that I need to access, and then that way I can be able to retrieve to access my accounts. So I can have multiple different entries to this KDBX file, and as long as I have my one password, I can just go ahead and look at, for example, for an auto password generator. You can just get or LastPass, or depending, and basically all you have to do is pick this random, copy this, go to whatever website in this case, or thingy that you're trying to access. If you're trying to set up another one, you go, you register, then you come, and then when you're adding your entry, this will be your password in this case. So you get your password, the one that you picked up from this one that was copied the clipboard. Then from there you can be able to definitely move this, set up a different account on for a specific URL that you're trying to access. You put the password here, repeat the password, set the username, and then use a title, for example, for you to remember. So you will not need to remember, for example, this string. All you need to do is copy, use it on the website that you want to access, and then from there you can be able to, of course, generate different strong passwords. So this password will definitely be difficult to guess. You can go ahead and generate another one, and multiple and set them up for different services when you're accessing them, and that should definitely help you be able to set up strong passwords. So with that, I want to conclude the demo, and I hope that has been great. So when we're looking at understanding our key takeaways in this case, we need to definitely look at what we have gone through our demo. We need to understand that our key takeaways in this during this webinar have been that we need to prioritize strong password management. We need to ensure that we keep our software and antivirus programs up to date. Also, we need to ensure that we secure online communication. We protect our devices through the updates. And then, of course, we also understand our local cybersecurity laws, and of course, regularly review and update your security measures, because a control today may not be the same control that works next in a few years to come. Also, I encourage you to stay informed and, of course, read about cybersecurity threats within your different sectors, so that at least you ensure that you're up to date. With this, I want to pass back to Faith, and thank you guys for giving me the time to present this.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was really informative. I really did enjoy that session. And I hope our participants are able to learn a lot from the session and gain as much information as necessary. And I want to say thank you, because a lot of that information is also in tandem with what we shared during this week in terms of best practices for cybersecurity and how to prevent the attacks that we talk about in week 2. So in the next perhaps 15 to 17 minutes, we'll look at some of the questions that have been raised by the participants. And since you did most of the like good work, most of the questions will come to you, but our panelists, Patricia and Sylvia, please feel free to respond to some of them as well. If you have anything to add, please raise your hand, and then I will select you to respond to the question. I will begin with Paul asks, how do we know that the pawned websites, I'm assuming how have I been pawned, is a trustworthy website? Is there any guarantee that the website does not collect any data that we post, any searched emails? How can we be sure that Have I Been Pawned is a trustworthy website?
I would look at it from a security professional kind of angle. Most times when we ask ourselves, for example, how often do we provide our information to websites to ask for them? Basically, when you're providing your data to Have I Been Pawned, it's basically a search. You're running a search across what databases are available and what information is known. So you just putting your email there and basically getting a response does not put you at a point whereby you're asking for more data, because the website basically is a compilation of multiple emails, and it's something that is vetted in the security community. And of course, most of the information that you find from data breaches is actually a compilation of most of what the different security professionals are looking at as a community kind of effort to ensure that people are able to find information in scenarios where there's data leakage. You also find that there are integrations for different solutions, different security solutions that utilize, for example, paid APIs that are from the Have I Been Pawned site, and basically feed onto their intelligence to be able, for example, to inform the users within the organizations that, for example, we've seen, for example, this specific organization X, this user's email has appeared in one of the databases that has been leaked. So at least I would say from a point, it's quite reliable, and it's a community effort from the security industry.
Yeah, I agree. And to add on that, I think Have I Been Pawned as a website is run by Troy Hans. He's a very reputable InfoSec professional. He works at Microsoft, and he's run this project for a long time now. I think in terms of sensitive breaches, for example, data belonging to governments, or like data belonging to sensitive organizations, or like if it's particularly sensitive with regards to security or privacy of individuals, what the website allows you to do is, if you're worried that your data has been leaked in a sensitive data breach, they require you to confirm the identity, or whether the email that you're posting belongs to you. So there's a feature for that as well. So there are levels to what Have I Been Pawned is able to do. But in terms of posting your email, I think essentially what Mr. Peter said is true. You just post your email and it just searches through a big database of breaches, and it does not save any searched emails. Yeah, so on to the next question. Christopher Mobili asks, hello, I'm Mobili from Kenya. There was a scenario where a friend lost money. It happened that he received an SMS, and when he replied to the text, he found all his mobile accounts. So how can someone protect him or herself from such? I hope that's sort of clear, but I think what is happening here is someone was fished through an SMS and they clicked, and then they sort of lost a lot of money in that way. How would one protect themselves from such a scenario?
Thank you for the question. It's quite a good question. In regards, for example, actual security and also the challenges that are known, SMS is not really so well trusted, I would say, because of the different types of attacks over the years that have evolved. When it comes to, for example, smishing or in this case, what we're looking at is the SMS-based attacks, we need to be able to validate, for example, the source of these SMSs. So one thing I will always tell people is that it's very expensive running on cheap solutions, I would say. For example, I see so many people, I don't know whether we understand what we call routing and basically jailbreaking. So what happens is there are scenarios where you can have someone install some spyware kind of tool on your device. This will not just go against the example that has been given, but it also puts in a point of, for example, the things that we highlighted around device security. If an individual, for example, is responding to an SMS that he has no idea about and providing, for example, sensitive information, or in regards, for example, an OTP or such, basically these trainings are to equip you with the knowledge that you should be able to, one, if you're in a scenario where, for example, it requires a lot of urgency and you do not understand what is happening, you should always pause, breathe in, and look at what exactly you're about to do. Security is so thin that sometimes we do things involuntarily that, for example, there are scenarios where someone can initiate a transaction or to your device, and basically all it requires is you to punch in your PIN. But for example, imagine you're trying to buy airtime and a pop-up, a USSD pop-up just comes on your phone and you just type in your PIN. You could easily lose money. So sometimes it requires us to be cautious, because the level of protection that, for example, would require, and also the exposure in terms of the solution or the technology that we use, puts us in scenarios where we may be disadvantaged at defending ourselves. For example, if you find that you're running an outdated Android OS, the level of and for example, you've maxed out how many updates you could actually reach. You're literally living on God's mercy, I would say, depending on the level of motive that the attackers have against you. Because, for example, we have seen people are able to bypass phones. We have seen scenarios where individuals are losing, someone's phone is stolen and all his funds are withdrawn from a mobile wallet. These scenarios are definitely, I would look at them as what would look at organized crime, because there are so many variables that have to be checked for this occurrence to happen. So in regards each question raised, I would often look at it from a point of, you need to be able to, one, understand what you're doing, what you're responding to, and also why you're responding to it, because you would not be wanting to respond to something that you do not know, and also what information is being requested for. So most times, and also I also look at this point from an investigative point of view. Normally people provide scenarios, but they do not give the whole story. So it's something that can also supplement and also give light to exactly what happened, and also provide us with a better position to give better advice against the issue.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. As an information security enthusiast, or rather, I think what you've also recommended as part of your takeaways, what communities can you prescribe for us to join in order to stay abreast with updates and relevant information around cybersecurity that may be useful to us and our work? So someone asks this.
There are quite a number of forums I would look at. As an enthusiast, I would definitely look at more of CISA, like CISA updates. Normally they do give advisories against, for example, the latest vulnerabilities. Then they also give news because they have a news section where they definitely just provide what's going on in the ecosystem. And then, of course, there are other platforms basically that, for example, podcasts. If you are interested in podcasts, like Darknet Diaries, basically it's something that can definitely blow your mind from a user point of view, because you get to go through what, for example, the different, in this case, you actually interact with former hackers and what they have been up to and the techniques that they have been using over the years. And it also puts you at a point whereby you're like, okay, this can happen to me. Okay, like you get to a point whereby you actually start to audit your actions. And I will definitely also probably look up what I could recommend and definitely provide better for moving forward, because that one caught me off guard because of the technicals.
Thank you. Thank you. I think whatever you've listed would be still useful to them. I really do enjoy Darknet Diaries, so that's also something folk listen to, but it does get a bit technical. But it's a very good way of learning what's happening around. So we'll invite Patricia or Sylvia to respond to this question. What's your take on using cracked or old operating systems? Also, what are the implications of not setting up a valid Microsoft account? I'm assuming if you're using the Windows operating system. Of course, using cracked software or pirated software is quite dangerous. It invites the possibility of having malware on your phone, or on your laptop or computer. It's also quite dangerous because we've seen it being used as well as spyware. It also tends to act as malware in some cases, like it communicates as it pretends to be serving a particular service. So using cracked software is not great at all and not recommended at all. And we do understand there's usually a cost implication with some of these programs, but really I would encourage you as much as possible to use genuine operating systems. I think the one that's quite popular, especially when I was still in uni, was KMS or something that was used to crack the Windows operating system, and then you'd use it without having it. But it was later found out to be masquerading as malware. So that's quite dangerous. Using old operating systems, as Mr. Peter explained, updates not only provide services around usability, but also they are very good at patching security vulnerabilities that can be used against you by malicious actors. So please, as much as possible, use genuine products and keep your devices, software, and applications on your phone as up to date as possible. Yes, I think this question has been asked by quite a lot of people. Now we are back to, have I been pawned? How, if I found that my account has been involved in a breach, what should I do next?
Well, I think we went through that if we're not paying attention, but I think maybe I can take that one.
Okay, I'll take that one. I hope you can hear me. So once you run your email through the Have I Been Pawned site, they give you I don't know if you can share your screen where you ran the Have I Been Pawned. So they'll give you a result of where your email had a problem. They'll give you the site. They will even tell you what was taken. They will tell you whether let's show. Yes, so once you run your email, yes, so they've even listed for you what you're supposed to do next. So the first thing is that you need to change your password. Just drop down. You see here, they tell you where, like here, his email was affected in a website known as Appen, and then you're told that the compromised data that was taken is email addresses, passwords, phone numbers. So what you'll do, if you had registered for that site, like sign up with Google, you'll just go and change your main Google password and then register for this site. You change your password, obviously. For any site that you find that has been breached, you'll make sure that you change the password, and then you change your main Google password. Also, we need to remember to avoid signing up for new sites using sign up for Google or sign up for Facebook, because that means that you're sharing you're sharing your Facebook password with this new site. So you need to be able to differentiate that, and that's where a password manager comes in and helps you to regenerate new passwords every time you're signing up for new sites. Okay.
Thank you, Sylvia. I think another really good thing about surviving porn is I did run my main email on it once, and I had almost like 10 accounts where my email had been involved in a breach, which was quite scary, but also it really allows you to see all these accounts that you have that you no longer use, you know? So another really good thing would be, other than changing the password, just deletes dormant accounts that you don't need. For example, if Peter is not using Appen, just deletes that account. It's not useful, and it has been, you know, it has been not a good thing for him. So I think we will stop here. There's quite a few questions that we haven't gotten yet to. So what will happen is Peter and I will work together to respond to the questions. Any links that you saw on the presentation will be shared to you as well. Any question that I have not answered or the team has not answered, again, will be shared in a response. This webinar has been recorded, and anything Peter's presentation as well will be shared to you, as well as responses to any unanswered question. So with that, I close the webinar. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us, for having us, for teaching us as well. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Sylvia. And thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.